Melissa Jefferson-Wooden is the fastest woman in the world for 2025. That is not an opinion, it is a fact. She validated it by winning the 100, the 200, and the 4x1 at the World Championships. The first woman to do it since Shelly Ann Fraser-Price, and ironically, did it in the year where Shelly Ann was about to retire. All that being said, it doesn't get much better than Melissa Jefferson-Wooden on the track, especially in the current era. And when she signed up to run at Athlos, she did that before the World Championships. But after everything that just happened, it's an incredibly big deal for her to be on any track. And now, news just broke that Melissa Jefferson-Wooden herself will actually not be competing at the Athlos track meet. And of course, I have some thoughts. Athlos, as far as I'm concerned, is a track and field all-star game. It's the best way I could describe it. Justin Gatlin, I think when he was there, he described it as, almost like being in a dream. Because Athlos, they have the money, backed by Alexis Ohanian. They have the stage. They're there in New York City. It's a nighttime event. Everything from the concert, the whole environment, the whole atmosphere is something that we just don't see in track and field. And because they are financially backed, this thing is going to happen one way or another. Pro track does not see events on this scale. It just doesn't happen. And anytime you create something new in track, it's a big deal, especially when you do it at the pro level. But for the stage that they created as an all-star game, you can't really have an all-star game, which is, again, my perception, if you don't actually have the stars. Melissa Jefferson-Wooden is one of those stars. Granted, she is not the only one, because if we're just talking about the American market, because New York City is in America, you have Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone and Sha'Carri Richardson and Gabby Thomas. Those are the three biggest stars that America has, arguably speaking, when it comes to, the broader sports community looking at track and field and what American women are doing. Athlos isn't just for the Americans. They have athletes who are going to compete, like, Faith Kipyegon, who, some call it, the greatest of all time when it comes to the 1500, and, there's so much more going on. But at the end of the day, when you lose Melissa Jefferson-Wooden, it is a big deal, specifically for the on-track performance. Now, what did that actually mean? Because you can't really blame Melissa for not running. We don't know all the details, but what matters most is she has competed for a very long time. The season for her started all the way back at the first Grand Slam track meet in Jamaica. She competed faithfully, was the Racer of the Year all the way through that season, went on to the Diamond League, competed, again, very high level, essentially had an undefeated season except for one 200-meter loss to Gabby Thomas on the Grand Slam track scene. And Gabby Thomas is the reigning Olympic gold medalist in that event, so you really can't, call that a big deal. You're allowed to lose to that person, especially when the 200 isn't really your event. And she followed it up by, sprint triple at the Worlds. It doesn't get any better than that. And in the present structure of the sport, the World Championships are the big moment. When we don't have the Olympic Games, that's as good as it gets. If you do it at the Worlds, then nothing else really matters. Melissa Jefferson-Wooden did everything else and did it at the Worlds. So clearly, everything she was supposed to win, she won. I do understand that Athlos gives the athletes a whole bunch of financial incentives to actually go out there and compete in the month of October. But generally speaking, what I'm trying to highlight is that because the season looks the way that it does, the length of the season, again, the championships and the other peaks and valleys along the way, when you put an event on the back end of that calendar, you're always going to be dealing with this issue because the athletes whom advance the needle the most or move the needle for the sport, the one that, the fans want to see, the track fans and even, the broader sports community is even aware of, those athletes are the ones who don't really need another meet. Financially speaking, they don't need it. The money is nice. I'm sure they appreciate it, but they're not the ones who really need it. And when you put that meet there, you're always going to be dealing with, this scheduling conflict where you're asking people to essentially artificially extend their season for a meet that really has no stakes aside from the money. And if you don't need the money, then what? But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, and if you really want to know what's going on with the fastest athletes in the world, then you are in the right place. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section because I try to read them all. Athlos announced that Sha'Carri Richardson is going to be involved with them, but she's not on the starting line to compete. Sydney McLaughlin-Lavroni, I've never heard her name mentioned alongside Athlos. Gabby Thomas was one of the leading women when it came to Athlos. She's very much so affiliated, but she's dealing with injuries this year, didn't run at the Worlds, and we definitely don't expect to see her on the track at Athlos. And as of now, we don't see her anywhere near the starting list. Like, this is just where we're at. Athlos has the platform. They have the stage. They have, again, New York City. They have Icon Stadium, same place where Usain Bolt first broke the world record. Even though the whole sports world may not know that, the track community was paying attention, at least, all the way, years back then. Like, they have media coverage. Again, I intend to be there live. I mean, at least as of right now, plane tickets are booked. I intend to be there. Like, a lot of people do want to see what's happening with Athlos, especially in the track community. And I guess the elephant in the room about Athlos going forward is, two sides. One is the event itself. Because when you put it at the end of the calendar, it's always going to have some of this, this challenge of getting the athletes to be able to take it seriously, considering the lack of stakes. The money, I guess you could call that stakes, but that's just payment. Athlos could very easily, from a, fanfare perspective, if that meet just moved anywhere on the calendar during the regular season, I'm pretty sure the track world would pay it a whole lot of mind. You wouldn't have an issue filling the lanes with the amount of money they're offering. No shade, just being honest. People want to see what's going to happen with Athlos, but they'd want to see it even more if it was a part of the larger season framework, because it's essentially an extra season meet. And I know they're working on a league where next year it seems to be a similar venture. They want to do everything after, or like the back part of the track and field calendar, like whatever the main season is, that's done, and then Athlos happens. The athletes are always going to be tapped out. They're always going to come to that meet to a point where, like, if you look at Gabby Thomas' performance in 2024, after the Olympic gold, coming down from that and then getting back up to run at Athlos, she ran well. She just didn't run quite like the Olympic gold medalists. You see where I'm going with this? And that's for a woman who actually showed up to compete. But not everybody's going to do that. And now Melissa Jefferson-Wooden is in that group. And the other side of this coin relates a little bit more to what the mission and vision is for Athlos. Now, granted, I'm not in the meetings to know everything that they have planned. I just know what's been released publicly. When you talk about, empowering women in the sport, and I think track and field specifically is very concerned with what pro track is going to be, how it's going to mature, what it's going to look like, because there's really a void, like a large vacuum when it comes to pro track and what it is and what it isn't. We have pro contract with Adidas or Nike, but when it comes to a stage that is a professionalized stage, like with guardrails and who gets in and who's not allowed to run, that is severely lacking in the sport. Again, as much as we want to pretend that it's not, it really is. So when Athlos establishes itself, everybody has to take it seriously as moving the needle professionally. And I'm pretty sure that Alexis Ohanian is aware of that. So if you're moving the needle and you're doing something brand new, you're creating a new stage, there's more money than we're used to seeing, the athletes want to be a part of it. Like, just to clarify. But when we say want to be a part of it and we're trying to move the needle, remember, the American sports media does not know much of anything when it comes to track and field because there's nothing to talk about. The Continental Tour and the Diamond are not American. Those things happen overseas. Athlos is actually happening in America. That's very important. Grand Slam Track attempted to do what it was doing primarily in the American market. They only had 2 slams in America, but they tried. So it is a big deal to bring a track event to America. And when you do it, people want to see the best athletes compete. This is not a disrespect to anybody who's already competing. That's not the point. What I am saying is if Sydney McLaughlin-Lavroni, Sha'Carri Richardson, Melissa Jefferson-Wooden, Gabby Thomas, if these athletes are not going to be competing, but we're going to run events that look like they're events without them, you see how it's, at the very least, a missed opportunity. Because those are the athletes who people have some degree of familiarity with. Melissa Jefferson-Wooden actually is in a unique position because she's dominated the world. So if you're in the track community, you know who she is. But in the American market, she didn't win these gold medals at the games. So I know firsthand that friends of mine still think that Julian Alford is the fastest woman in the world because that's what they saw at the games in the 100. That's the narrative they still believe because the World Championships wasn't front and center in their face. Athlos is another opportunity, albeit one that she doesn't need. But it is another opportunity, a unique opportunity to present herself to the American market. It's not asking too much, to me, that Athlos could find a way in the future, which I know I'm just one guy. It doesn't involve me. But theoretically speaking, if an Athlos meet could show up at any point in the track and field calendar during the mainline side of it, anywhere between May and July, I think the exact same experience, the exact same one, could go even further. Because that's when track and field interest is climbing. And it's when it's climbing. It hasn't even reached its peak yet, but I think because the athletes are in that competition zone, I think we all kind of see the utility of it. It's an all-star game, and it might continue to be that. But it's really hard to have an all-star game without all of the stars in attendance. I mean, you can do it. Like, when you have all-star games in other leagues and somebody gets hurt or somebody pulls out, they do come up with a replacement all-star. But make no mistake, it is not the same thing. And Melissa Jefferson-Wooden, right now in 2025, there is nobody else that you can put in a lane not named Melissa Jefferson-Wooden who will shine quite as brightly. And unfortunately, we won't get the privilege of seeing her on the track at Athlos in 2025. In the sport of track and field, race day is honestly the easy part because all of the real work gets put in when nobody is watching. When you wear every day is training day gear, you can let the whole world know that your success in competition is not an accident. Order yours at scarecruiting.com/shop or use the link in the description below, and it always comes with free shipping. It's a huge support to me and this channel, so I can continue to make you more content like this. And remember, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.